Hi, Sweet Pea.
Hi, Mummy Bear.
We have another Chit-Chat.
We sure do. This is episode 50. Can you imagine 50, halfway to 100? Quite a big episode.
50, a big episode. This is the fantastic Nick Mesa.
Absolutely.
And Nick is actually our first Gardeners World presenter. He was presenting back in 2016. He did a series of garden visits.
Yep.
And we have a really great and in-depth chat, and the actual recording was very long because we all got carried away.
So long.
To the extent that you had to leave us because you had lectures to get to. So you said, I'm going to have to leave you guys. Okay, bye.
I had my first uni lectures at med school to get to.
No.
I had to leave, so I had to say such a quick goodbye to Nick. So Nick, if you're listening, goodbye properly. But I'm really sorry I had to leave so quickly because I just was like, goodbye. Ran out of the room.
She did a runner. There was this little cloud of dust as she left. And then I did have the very stressed messages because you were late getting there, and there was a big queue for the amphitheatre, and you were worried you wouldn't get a seat. But luckily, a couple of your friends had saved your seat, so you were okay.
Exactly.
But there was definite panic, but it was worth it because it really was a good chat with Nick.
Absolutely. I mean, I got to ask the big question of what happens when you're plant hunting, because obviously you know how I love that stuff, so I got to ask the big question.
You love your plant hunting, and Nick, of course, is a plant hunter. Nick has a wealth of experience, and we get to hear a lot about it. We also hear a lot about his route into gardening. He is, of course, the owner of the renowned Pan Global Plants in Gloucestershire.
If you haven't been, go
and
there.
We hear how he got to that point right from the very beginning of his career. So very interesting, especially if you're looking for a career in horticulture.
Absolutely, yes.
As well as that, we also find out that Nick, unbeknownst to himself, has a love for fairy lights. So we uncovered that for him, unearthed that.
Yes, we did.
I'm very pleased we could help Nick. Just something, Sweet, I thought you might be interested in. We do talk about poison dart frogs. And we were wondering about the toxins in them, and they actually get their toxins from the insects that they eat. So if you are keeping them in captivity, they aren't actually toxic. So even if you were to lick a poison dart frog,
I mean, don't try.
In captivity, you aren't going to die. So that's all good.
But don't start trying that now.
We have quite a few noises on this one.
We do.
Nick has a healthy 5 o'clock shadow, even though this was in the morning, and his mic is catching on his stubble, so we can hear the rubbing of stubble. We hear lovely bird song. That's Nick's end. Nick had to change his mic setup partway through because the battery ran out, so you'll hear a bit of a change.
We were talking for so
volume.
long.
And it was also not long after the change of mic that Nick's partner really needed to use the room. The poor thing had been waiting patiently to come back in.
Oh, I felt so sorry for her.
Because we were so long at it, we do then hear her in the background.
Bigger polls.
Also, I think I'm laughing too much, so polls for that. It gets very annoying. I will try to rein it in the future. We have a lot of links and recommendations from Nick, so we will be putting that on the gardens page on our website, not just a garden.co.uk. So anything you hear from him, jump onto that page and you'll find links there. If there's anything missing that was mentioned that we didn't include, then get in contact with us and we'll ensure we find out what it is and we'll get it added on. And you can contact us through the contacts page at notjustagarden.co.uk or
nice and easy
through our email address, which is notjustagarden@outlook.com.
Absolutely.
Sweet Pea, Sweetie Pie, what is the format?
Garden structure for the dream garden is garden boundary, shed or greenhouse, 5 ornamentals, 5 edibles, 1 statement tree, pond or pool plus 1 plant, find your favourite seating area, drink, and 1 plant for that area.
So strap in, it's a long one. I think we should kick things off immediately.
Yeah.
This is episode 50, a good old chit-chat with Nick Mesa.
Off we go.
Welcome, Nick, to a good old chit-chat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. You are one of our guests from probably the longest time ago on Gardeners World, but you probably had the most involvement because you were a presenter in 2016.
Yes.
I had the most involvement, did I? Good God.
Yeah, I guess.
That was 2016, September. I did just a few, four pieces for them. Yeah.
Specifically on kind of tropical planting. Is that right?
Well, they came to me with not much of an idea what to do, really. They were trying to work
what to do with Nick. What to do with Nick.
It seems like the Gardeners World team at the time were flying by the seat of their pants, really.
Really?
They did
interesting.
come with an idea of this and that, and I said, well, what about this? And so they really wanted my involvement in that sort of ideas process. So we ended up, to cut a long story short, with looking at different microclimates, because that's something that really interests me anyway.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
The way plant hardiness is involved with microclimates.
Yeah.
Right.
And the whole thing about microclimates, we're not just talking about just the little spot by the corner of the house or countrywide. There are microclimates within microclimates within microclimates. I think I say that in one of the episodes. You can really push the boundaries. So we sort of set out to try and pick a few gardens. There was only one garden that they wanted to go and visit when they first came to me, and it was a garden that had already been covered on Gardener's World a few years before. And I thought, why are you going back there? I mean, it's great, nice garden. Not sure why we're going back. But anyway, that was in the bag already. So we went to go and see a chap in Islington with his roof garden.
All right.
And I thought, we can expand on that. It wasn't just a roof garden. It was a very funky house with a very, very modern house. So it was a roof garden and normal garden, as it were. But in a London city heat island microclimate.
Yeah.
Did he have bananas in his garden?
He did, and they were just starting to come out, so they didn't look great because it was early season.
I remember that.
Yeah. David Matzdorf was his name.
Right.
Joe Swift had been to see him some years before.
So how were the other 3 gardens decided? Were you involved in that decision?
So because they were like, ooh, where else should we go? We got this one lined up, and it's a bit exotic. And it's like, well, like I said, let's not just go exotic, because you can go exotic anytime you like. It's a very popular genre nowadays. Let's try and do this interesting difference in microclimates. So I thought about what we could look at that really shows the diversity. So one was Paul Spracklin in Essex. So he's got an extremely dry microclimate.
Oh.
Not just temperature. He is coastal Essex.
Right.
Which is the driest place in the UK.
Yeah.
So it's extremely dry. And he grows all manner of succulents outside, as well as all manner of other exotica, really pushing the boundaries again. So that was one extreme microclimate. Another one was central northern UK. Went to see Simon Alpin, a good customer of mine, in Sheffield. So Sheffield you don't think of as a place where you grow exotics well. Normally you think of Cornwall or whatever.
Yeah.
So Simon's getting away with all sorts of things. Sheffield isn't as cold as you think,
Yeah. Very hilly up there, isn't it? Was he in a kind of a vally or?
Well, the whole of Sheffield, when you look at Sheffield from a hilltop, which we did at the beginning of the program, you see the whole thing is obviously you get bleed up the hills with development, but I'm not an expert in Sheffield, but to me, like Sheffield is generally in a bowl.
Yeah.
The city itself is right down in that bowl, so in theory it would be a sort of a natural frost pocket, but of course you'll have the urban heat island effect from a whole city, plus you have all those microclimates within microclimates, like I was saying just now. So Simon has created an incredibly sheltered garden with the amount of bamboos and mature palms he has there. It's like entering a jungle.
Wow.
So some would say it's a bit overplanted. Others would say fabulous, dense jungle. So it's all, it depends what you like, really.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
Of course.
But the point was, we were in Sheffield, and he was growing some incredible stuff.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating.
Without having to take anything in the winter? Everything was just out there all year round?
Yeah. We're looking at permanent plantings. Yeah. He has a conservatory which is
very
sort
cool.
of like a tropical conservatory where I'd say tropical. He's got sort of tree frogs and things hopping around in there.
Wow.
So just a nice conservatory on the side of his house, which he heats and keeps humid.
With tree frogs?
With tree frogs.
Amazing.
I think they were poison dart frogs.
What? Is he getting those
They were
from?
pretty. They were pretty funky looking things. I'm not an expert in frogs, but they were very interesting looking things.
So this was pre-Brexit then, when you could import poison dart frogs, was it?
Who knows? I mean, it was certainly pre-Brexit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they
goodness
probably...
me.
Did they breed them here? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I've
Not
never
my
heard
area
of
of
them before.
expertise currently, but I am going to look them up afterwards.
Yeah, they can be pretty funky looking things.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of them here.
I'm sure that's what I'm sure.
In
You
the
making me
Amazon,
doubt
I've
what
heard
I'm
of
saying
them.
now, but I'm sure they were poison dart frogs because they were very, very brightly coloured,
The yellow and
Exactly.
black.
spotted things.
Because the Amazonians use the poison that they excrete to put on the tips of their arrows to then
Yeah.
shoot their prey.
Yeah.
That then
Kill
totally.
instantly.
I don't know if it kills or it just totally paralyzes them. I'm not sure on the
Sedates.
details of that, but
Yeah.
amazing. Is he making any poison darts or just looking at them
I
and not
think
licking them?
I don't think he's licking them. Maybe he is. Maybe that's the reason. There's another side to this. Simon,
Yeah.
why didn't you tell me?
Very dark side.
Very dark.
So just to finish that off, the last garden we went to was Kells Bay in Southwest Ireland. I thought we're not going to get there because maybe BBC budget. And I just said, listen, it would be great to do the complete opposite of say Paul Spracklin in Essex, the very driest place. So I know it's not UK, but so what? It's British Isles. Let's go to far Southwest Ireland where it's incredibly humid, moist, cool, very, very hyper-temperate. Exactly. Lush, green place. So we went to see Billy at Kells Bay Garden, which I knew already and been to at least once before, where they have this incredible tree fern forest of Dixonia antarctica, where there must be like 100 more, I don't know, just zillions of mature Dixonia antarctica
Proper
in woodland.
forest.
It's a proper forest. It makes you feel like you are in Tasmania or Southeast Australia.
How beautiful. And how did you know these people? Were they all customers of yours?
Oh, well, I'm a plant nerd, so, I'm plugged into the world of plant nerds. So,
you know what's what and who's who.
Well, I suppose so. I mean, Paul Spracklin, I knew for years. I think I met him first as a customer, but I knew about him already. Simon, I met through being a customer. Billy, I think he sold me some ferns once. That's when I first met him long ago from his little nursery. Who else did we? Oh, David. I knew. David Maxdorf in London, I knew from an online forum.
Right.
A plant nerd forum.
Wow.
With the tree ferns in Ireland, are they having to protect those at all?
No, not at all.
Really?
No, not remotely.
Gosh,
No,
that's amazing.
That was another point about that visit. It wasn't just extremely moist. It was mild, very mild. So when you have that really mild microclimate, you can really, do incredibly crazy things.
Loads of things.
I was trying to inspire people around the UK, because when I look around the UK, I think of all the really quite mild places or quite humid places, even in terribly dry seasons like we just had this year. There are areas on the West Coast where I've been talking to customers on the phone and say, oh, we've had plenty of rain. Yeah, it's been pretty mild here. I mean, not mild, moist, plenty of rain. And so, yes, we've been pretty dry as a country this year, let's face it. Some areas horrifically dry, but it's not always the case. I just drive around the UK and look at all the plants we grow in our gardens and think, yes, we have a fabulous garden flora in the UK like nowhere else. But I always just think, the things you could grow here, and why don't you try this here? Well, you've just got a forsythia or another whatever. Why aren't we pushing the boat out and really making use of our amazing varied microclimates?
So opening people's minds and worlds to this plethora of other plants that we can grow in the UK would be a helpful thing. So I guess you going on Gardeners World was an opportunity to put that out there. You had these 4 different gardens across the British Isles.
To a big audience as well.
To a big audience. Do you feel that you gained some traction with that you started to get more interest in the sort of rarer plants, more unusual plants?
I don't think so.
No change at all.
Well, I mean, the only way I could possibly judge that is just by thinking what happened at my nursery. That'd be the only experience I would have. It was such a short thing. It was just 4 pieces. They were trying out all sorts of different presenters at the time. I don't know if you remember. There were loads of different people coming and going. I just thought we'd only literally scraped the surface before they said, well, thanks very much. We're just going to carry on without you. Thanks very much. Bye. And I was like, God, what are you doing? We've only just started.
Yeah, it sounds like that.
You just go deep.
Yes. And I think I just got the impression that going deep wasn't something Gardeners World wanted to do. And I get that there may be an argument for that because you don't want to put people off with
Trying
too
to
much
appeal
in
to the
depth.
masses.
Yes, exactly. But
Yeah.
I'm never a fan of dumbing down in anything, and we have far too much dumbing down in all media nowadays that I can see. Magazines, the RHS Garden magazine, for example. Ooh, I've upset someone. Whoops. It's everywhere. It's like, oh, be careful not to, must include everyone. It's like, well, include them, but work out ways of including them. I always think education is fairly important.
Yeah.
Let's keep the standards high. Let's keep the depth of content there, but make it presented in the right way
And accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
and the visuals. The visuals, draw people in with the visuals and draw people in with the interesting content, but don't dumb it down ever.
It does go back to the point of why aren't we seeing more of these types of gardens, and it's possibly because of a lack of knowledge and education. And actually, yes, I can do that. It's just because it says it's a rare plant doesn't mean that I can't do something with that in my
in
garden.
your specific climate as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one, and I interface with that a bit at the nursery sometimes, where people say, "Oh, but this is they're all rare, so I can't grow them." I was like, what? What do you mean you can't grow them? Why would you say that? They say, well, they're rare. Oh, clearly, they're hard to grow. It's like, well, clearly they're not hard to grow. Why do you just assume that?
Yeah.
Often things are rare because because they're rare. For multiple reasons, like, for example, they're hard to propagate or no one's ever introduced it before. Never assume a plant is hard to grow just because you've never seen it before. My nursery is full of some pretty classic things, but also some very, very rare things.
And exotics,
the rare things,
all sorts.
Yeah, the rare things are not necessarily. I mean, some of them are incredibly hardy. For example, if you get some rare species of oak from high altitude in the Himalaya.
Boom, hardy.
Yeah.
Can't get hardier.
Hardy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could possibly get hardier from something, from Siberia or whatever, but it's hardy enough. There's so much of that stuff out there.
Yeah.
So it's education. It's scary for the layperson like myself. You hear the word rare, you think, crikey, well, I haven't got a chance because I'm just I don't have a horticultural background. So in terms of your experience with Gardener's World and wanting to get that more in-depth knowledge out there, do you have for example, a YouTube channel, or do you have any channel where you're able to impart this knowledge? Because it sounds like there's loads bubbling under the surface and you would have a massive audience for it. Put it all out there.
Yeah, it's been mentioned a few times. I mean, after doing a little bit of presenting, that tiny bit of presenting on Gardener's World, I did obviously. Customers would come in and say, "Oh, I saw you on the TV." Blah blah blah. Conversation would start, and there was a chap who said, "You should just do a YouTube channel." And that was years ago, and I thought, "Yeah, I probably should. You're right." But these things, when you're a busy nurseryman, I mean, being a nurseryman is quite sort of time-consuming. A glorious job. I'm not whinging at all. I've got the best job in the world, basically. But it doesn't leave a lot of time for anything else.
No.
I mean, George, you had George on recently.
I was going to bring that up. George Lowther of George's Jungle Garden.
Yes.
And he did a piece with you, didn't he?
He did.
It's really fun, actually.
It was great.
Brilliantly filmed. I really liked the chat between you and George. He's got a great way.
He's
but
a pro.
he is, and he was saying how time consuming it is. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but he was also he was encouraging me to do my own YouTube channel.
Yeah,
so and his point he was making was, look at all the plants you have around you. You could just do really not slick, but just get your phone and just go around looking at stuff. Check this out, guys. Check this out, and here's some information. And he was absolutely right. But have I done it?
Nope.
So,
you should.
If I was 30 or something, or 25, I don't know, I probably would be right on it. But I don't know, you just get more relaxed when you get older, don't you? So,
so it's not something that's on the horizon then? It's not a case of watch this space. We're going to see Nick in front of the camera again.
Do I want to start up a YouTube channel now?
What do you mean now? You're young, Nick. You've got plenty of time ahead of you. Now is the time.
Whatever old means.
Means nothing.
No. You're probably right. I probably should do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But also
Okay.
that's not the angle to be coming from. Of, I probably should do it.
It needs to be a passion.
No, I'd make it. God, whatever I do, I'm passionate with.
Yeah.
No, if I actually started it, it would be great fun, and I'd get very passionate about it, of course, because when you're talking about plants you love, you're going to be passionate anyway, aren't
It's
you?
easy.
So
Yeah.
I think it goes with it's part of the course, really.
So we should explain that your nursery is Pan Global Plants. Our
Yeah.
very first episode of Chit-Chats, this was brought to our attention by Amir from Amir's Allotment, who is Gloucestershire. I think he's in Gloucester. And you were, I don't know if you've seen our website, you're one of the first recommendations we got on our website, because we take our guests' recommendations and we put them on our sites, and we put a link to you. And
I did look at your website after you guys contacted me, and I missed that bit. Whoops, I better go back and have a look.
You need to scroll right down to the bottom. He's our very first one. And then subsequently we've had a few more. And then obviously George, he sang the praises, and he's got that wonderful episode with you.
Yeah.
Your route to setting up Pan Global Plants wasn't a sort of a direct route, was it? When you were at school, you left school quite early. You describe yourself as being a bit of a difficult or a sort of rebellious youth.
I think my teachers would call me difficult.
How rebellious were you?
Oh, not that rebellious. I mean, it's far worse than me. They didn't throw me out. I think I got suspended once, but no, I was just sort of bouncing off the wall somewhat, and I don't know. I possibly would be diagnosed with one of these modern illnesses now. Who knows? Possibly not.
But mainstream education wasn't working. It wasn't a good
Absolutely
fit.
not. I didn't like being strapped to a chair. I needed action. I needed to get out and do
other stimulation.
And I found it difficult to just sit on a chair. I suppose loads of people do, don't they? God, sitting on a chair is unhealthy for children, I think, all day long.
Yeah.
I know we had a bit of physical education, all that sort of thing, but I don't know, it wasn't for me. Anyway, so I was relatively young in my years, so I could leave at the age of 16, but because I was young, I actually left at the age of 15.
Wow.
So sounds almost
August
Victorian,
baby?
doesn't it? No, I was late June. June. So I wasn't mega young for the year, but anyway, whatever. I left the moment I could after scribbling on my exam papers and
out that door,
or not even turning up to some of the exams.
Right.
Yeah, and then I sort of had to sort of drag myself up from the bottom, as it were. When you leave school with no exams, you kind of think, ooh.
What do I do now?
Reality hit me hard after a few months sort of lying around in bed. I thought, better do something. So I just started doing, crappy jobs, filling supermarket shelves and things like that. But no, I would like to inspire the youth of today to trust in your instincts, because that's what I was doing. I thought, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do it. And luckily I was born, I don't know about born or anyway, bred, whatever, to be sort of spicy in that with that attitude, spicy enough to be able to say, sod it, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
And I know lots of kids will be like, oh, God, well, I better do what my parents say, and better do this and do that. But what I'm trying to say is I think there's a lot of strength in trusting in your instincts and heading in the right direction when it feels right.
Yeah. There's more than one way of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it depends what works for you, of course. But a lot of people think they need to do something, I think. And they think, I must go to do this and do that and maybe go to university and study this, when perhaps they're not really interested in that subject. I think the point I'm trying to make is that you need to be driven in that direction yourself, somewhat. And of course, some people,
from yourself.
Exactly, some people are, and that's great for them. And they know from a very young age, and they go on to be great doctors or whatever. Great. But if you're not, and I think so many kids, I'm not an expert in this, but I think so many kids are not necessarily really driven. And I'm talking about finding that thing that drives you for the rest of your life.
Because then it's a joy, isn't it?
And then it's a joy.
Yeah.
Work should be a joy.
Yeah.
I love my work. I will never retire until I'm sort of forced to retire, because I have no desire to retire, because I'm working my hobby.
It's your passion.
It's my passion. So I just want the youth of today, if they're listening in, to try and find that. And of course, finding that is probably not that easy, but the only thing I can say is follow your nose and see what feels right. Because that's kind of what I did.
I agree with you about instinct. I also think it's important to recognize that just because you don't know what it is at that stage, do other things, travel the world,
Keep doors open.
Yeah, keep doors open. Keep your mind open.
volunteering, and
Keep
at
your heart
some
open.
point that's going to happen, because I think there is a lot of pressure, certainly in the British school system, where at GCSE level you need to have an idea, because then you're choosing three subjects for your A levels. And if you go on to do A levels, then you really closed a lot of doors by choosing, for example, sciences, if then you end up wanting to do something that's more in the arts world. And don't panic at that stage. Recognize that actually you can either redo things or you can step out of the system and do apprenticeships, which I'm a massive advocate of apprenticeships. But do find that thing that you are passionate about. Don't think, I'm 18 and I haven't worked out yet what it is. It doesn't
that's the
matter.
thing.
You've
That
got
is
your
the thing.
whole life ahead
You're
of you.
only 18.
Exactly.
to
It's
make those
pushing that
decisions.
point. It's pushing that point and stepping out of this sort of norm, which is, you're 18, you're nearly there, you've got to get on with it. It's like, I fully agree. You do not have to get on with it at all. I think there should be a compulsory time, radical statement, where kids are allowed to, or encouraged or pushed to go and experience different things. Rather than just be thrust into the world of adulthood. Because let's face it, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, I wouldn't call them adults.
No.
I think you're an adult when you're, 40 or something.
Well, and I was going to say, I know plenty of people who've
Sorry,
had
everyone.
radical career changes in their 40s. And, have only
Yeah.
figured out in their 40s what they want to do, and have made that change and are living
Done
very
amazingly.
happy and exciting lives from that point on. So it can happen at any point, can't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's a complex subject, but yeah.
So when after you'd done your stacking of shelves, you realised you needed to get on and do something else. What took you off down the horticultural route?
It was purely just looking at a couple of friends of mine who worked in horticulture. And I was only, when I was like 16 or 17 or something, maybe something like that, or 18 maybe. One was working in landscaping gardens.
Same age as you?
Same age as me.
Or older?
Yeah, my direct, friend group. And another one was working in a little local nursery. I just thought, that just looks nicer than what I'm doing. I'm just going to go and do a bit of that. And I got a job with a local landscaper. So I was working outside. It wasn't planty, and I wasn't even planty at the time anyway. But, clearly I was open to it and realised that hanging out with trees and gardens was a nice place to be. I'd recognised that longer, just walking in the woods or whatever. You think, this is a nice place to be.
Feels good.
Feels good, exactly. So I worked with this local landscaper, and then I moved sideways into a job with another landscaper. Second landscape job, I just started for some reason, and I'm afraid I can't pinpoint anything. It was a bit of a blur, because I just started wanting to know the names of plants, and it wasn't very long before I became obsessed in trees. That was my thing. I just started, I want to know what all these trees are. And as I say, it was such a I think it was quite fast. I can't remember, because
sudden.
I became just exactly. It was really quite sudden, I think, and I became obsessed. And then everywhere I looked, driving along to work, everywhere I was like, I want to identify that tree. And I remember going to my dad and saying, Dad, that book you used to show us when we were kids, because Western Bird Arboretum is nearby here, the famous National Arboretum. And he used to take us there back in the 70s as little kids, and we'd wander around, and I'd be amazed by this garden of trees, this huge, hundreds of acres.
Yeah.
And I'd feel lost in there. It was like it was a maze. I was only 7 or 8 years old. And so that sort of charmed me in some way at that time. But I didn't know,
You hadn't connected the dots yet.
No, exactly. And I said, that book we used to go around Westonbirt with, where is it?
For identifying trees.
Yeah. It's the Alan
fantastic.
Mitchell, what was it? Alan Mitchell, the famous tree man of the time, long dead now. But what was it? The Trees of Britain and Northern Europe. It's one of those, I think it was a Collins identification guide. It's been redone by others now. I think Owen Johnson has done a version now. But that was my Bible. And every morning at breakfast, I would study it And then I would go out into the world, in my car. Ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? And you just completely eyes wide open and sucking in all this information. Absolutely glorious. One of the best times of my life. Loved it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you then recognise this is something this really floats my boat. This is really what gets me up in the morning. And so did you pursue horticultural qualifications?
Well, I went to, because I was obsessed in trees, I thought I now know what I will do for the rest of my life. And what shall I do? I must do some sort of course where I study this. Now I know. I'm happy to go back to school now. And by this time I was 21. I got to college at 21 anyway. So I think I did a couple of years landscaping.
Were all your contemporaries, were they younger than you, or were there a few of you who were
at college?
Yeah.
No, there's a whole range. I was kind of middling.
Middle, right.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
there were some young ones straight out of school, I think, maybe 18 or whatever. And then there was probably quite a few at my sort of age. And then there were some guys up to sort of 30 odd.
Yeah.
30, early 30s maybe. Something like that. That was a course in arboriculture.
Right.
I thought, if I'm doing trees...
Right up your street.
Yeah. It's got to be about trees.
Kind of.
The tree man, Nick.
It's going to be about trees. So what is there? Tree only? And I thought, there's forestry. No, not really into growing trees as a crop. Not really my thing. So what else is there? Arboriculture, which is looking after trees in, I suppose, an urban environment, street trees and garden trees and whatever. And I just thought, well, go on then. It's not really what I'm interested in. What I was interested in was the sort of botanical, horticultural side of trees. Mm-hmm. Trees very much in garden and arboreta, really. That kind of side of it, all the differences in the tree world and how we can use them in landscape.
Was there no course that's more specific to that? So any of the RHS type courses?
I don't think so.
Nothing
that focused, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's kind of irrelevant anyway because so for example, my at that stage, my dad said, I think you should do horticulture. And I said, what? I'm not interested in flowers and shrubs.
Preposterous.
Preposterous. And of course, within 6 months probably of starting the arboriculture course, I was already relatively full up with, not completely, of course, no one ever is, but I was pretty darn happy with my tree knowledge, my basic tree knowledge of all, most of the trees we grow in the UK.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, not talking about the mega rare stuff. And I was looking for more. I was like, give me more information. So I then started coming down to shrubs and then herbaceous layer, all of it. I wanted to know all of it as much as I could. So he was absolutely right. And I'd already started on this 3-year arboriculture course. So, so I should have done something more along the lines of probably an RHS course at Wisley or something like that. That would have been great. Yeah. Being immersed in a great garden, Kew, Edinburgh diploma, I don't know, one of those things.
Yeah, they're fantastic courses, aren't they? Were you classroom based for those 3 years, or were you out in the field a lot as well?
Well, if you do arboriculture, certainly in those days, and no doubt now, the first year is a lot of practical because they're training tree surgeons. So they send you up trees, to be a tree monkey with a chainsaw,
Oh my God. Not fun, sweetie.
Maybe you should try it.
I don't want you doing that.
Yes.
It is fun when you get over if you've got a fear of heights, it's not that fun, to be honest. And I had a fear of heights. So I had, just getting off the top of a double, section ladder at sort of whatever that is, 30 feet or something. Yeah. I got the old shaking Stevens leg.
Sweaty palms, yeah.
Absolutely. But once you got over that, once you push yourself, which is a good thing, actually, pushing yourself
comfort zones.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of your comfort zone. Realize you can do it. Very, very powerful stuff, actually. And swinging around inside a tree, being inside the crown of a tree at height is a really special place to be. And it sounds a bit cosmic, but it's a really nice place to be. It feels good.
Yeah.
I don't know how to express that more. You feel sort of held in some way or that sounds a bit hippie, doesn't it?
No.
It's
normal. Sounds normal.
It's great. It's a lovely feeling within the crown of a mature tree. I mean, you're just walking underneath a tree and, and looking up and going, wow, this is glorious, wonderful.
I
I
was
can
just
see
gonna
all the
say,
branches, fabulous. But when you're in this place that humans don't normally sort of hang out in, up in the branches, walking along you're always roped in, of course, for safety. But I had many happy times up inside the trees.
How interesting. And it makes you think, a childhood thing to do is to climb trees. There's a tree, let's climb it. That's something I was doing all the time when I was little.
All the time as well.
You're just drawn to climbing up that tree and sitting in that tree. I would sit on this huge fat branch for hours. I would be so happy up there.
That's what I would do.
So now you saying about that as an adult, where you're a bit more, you're a bit more thoughtful about the whole situation and the process. That's interesting, isn't it?
Were you... And was I forest bathing, as we call it now? We were going there, possibly instinctively, to heal ourselves or just keep ourselves on the straight and narrow. It's a nice place to be.
How interesting. I've never joined those things up.
I've never thought
hearing
about
you
it
saying
either.
about being in the canopy. Because it does just feel good, doesn't it, being in a forest?
It does.
Yeah,
such a wonderful feeling.
Absolutely. All this sort of forest bathing stuff people talk about now, I could not agree with more. It's just so obvious. When you go for a walk in the woods, just go for a walk in the woods. you don't have to sit around going, I'm forest bathing. Just go for a walk in the woods. It calms you down. Everything becomes,
You don't need to name it, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very
so
true.
So you finished your 3 years, and did you work at Westonbirt Arboretum?
Oh, I did. Yeah. So a part of my middle year. Middle year was a sandwich course. So the middle year was going out into the industry. So a lot of the arborists would, of course, do arboriculture, as in going to get placements, sometimes around the world in different places with arboricultural companies, tree surgeons, and some probably worked with local authority arboricultural officers, because that's what a lot of us were being trained to be, I suppose, doing the 3-year course. But of course, I wanted to be immersed in the sort of botanical horticultural side of trees. So I went to work at Westonbirt. Well, to be honest, I went to Hillier Arboretum first. An incredible... Hillier Arboretum is incredible. It's one of the most diverse collections of hardy temperate trees in the world. And that's near Romsey in Hampshire. Okay. Well, the Hillier Manual. Have you heard of the Hillier Manual of Trees and Shrubs?
No.
That's a bit of a...
Gosh,
you need to get one of those.
I wish I could say yes to all of these, but sadly not.
Well, it's got no photos, but it's a bit of a sort of... It's one of the Bibles one should have on one's desk, just for looking at your woody plants, your trees and shrubs.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous load of info right there for you.
Worldwide or UK based?
It's hardy or hardy, semi-hardy trees for the UK. Right. Of course, can be used anywhere else where it's temperate. If you were in Northwest Europe anywhere, it would be absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Chunks of the United States would be absolutely fine. Northwest states would be absolutely fine, etc., etc. So it's a great book. Not too expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So you got to work there then?
So yeah, I did 6 months at the Hillier Arboretum, and then I did 6 months at Westonbirt, which was just up the road, which was quite handy.
Then what happened after your 3 years?
Oh yeah, so what happened after my 3 years? I came out of college and I had two little children at the time, little boys, and I'd just come to the end of a 5-year relationship with their mother. We split up right at that point after finishing college, which kind of dumped me into having to stay in the area rather than go out and find some great job at some great garden somewhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the...
You had responsibilities.
I had responsibilities and did not want to not see my children. So I stayed in Stroud here in the Cotswolds and thought, I need to find a job. And I put the word out with a few people, and it turned out there was a job going at this place, Cowley Manor, which is in the hills above, in the Cotswolds above Cheltenham, which is now some quite fancy spa hotel, but at the time wasn't. It was like a care home. Oh, yeah. Big old house, big old gardens, 56 acres of gardens with lakes and things. And Noel Kingsbury was trying to do something interesting with perennials there this was the mid-90s, when the new perennial the new perennial movement from.
Was there a big perennial movement in the 90s?
Oh
Didn't know that.
it's probably you probably think of it as so normal now, but that's kind of when it started. It was this major new, all the prairie planting in inverted commas, that kind of thing came in around that time from the continent.
Gotcha.
For perennials.
It became the concept. It's so normal nowadays. All the magazines still harp on about perennials, rather than and the woody side of things. So we say the shrubby side of gardens was pushed down somewhat, and people stopped thinking about the woody element so much, shall we say?
Right.
And there's been this 30-odd year concentration on perennial plantings, naturalistic perennial plantings, which is a glorious thing. And I'm not slagging off naturalistic perennial planting. I do some of it myself. But the idea that we should have thrown all the other layers in a garden, the shrubs one can use, and the trees one can use,
discarded them a bit.
They were definitely discarded somewhat. Yeah,
Right.
It's quite sad.
It is. I think it's ridiculous, to be honest. But I've always been banging on about the woody side of things.
Right.
My nursery has always pushed interesting woodies, as well as a whole range of herbaceous stuff.
Perennials as well.
Yeah.
So what were they after at Cowley? Were they wanting you to go with this new wave of perennials?
They needed the gardener to sort of run the place on a daily basis. And it was going to be...
Fantastic job.
Yeah, well, it was a beautiful place, 56 acres of Cotswold Valley.
I mean,
very cold in the winter, but it was a lovely place to be.
And you were head gardener?
Basically, yeah. Well, there was one other guy there,
amazing.
one other guy working there already, a nice guy called Ed, but he was just doing basic gardening. And I was just to be the guy on the ground putting into action what Noel was coming up with.
Nice.
What a dream.
Yeah. I was busy doing planting trees in the valley and getting on my own sort of thing, really, and something for the future. Because most of Noel's perennial messy plantings have been wiped out a long time ago, whereas a lot of the trees are still there growing and looking fantastic.
So your mark is still
So
there.
I made my mark. Not that it's all about making my mark. I'm not sense marking.
And
You're cocking your leg around the place.
But no, it's so lovely to go back 30 years later and look at some of these special trees that are still thriving there. Not all of them survived, but there are some good things there. And they'll carry on for another 100 years, hopefully, or more.
Yeah, it's the beauty of trees. And so you set up the nursery after that?
Yeah, that project sort of imploded somewhat, and I think the owners and Noel wanted to turn it into a garden open to the public, and they tried that, and it didn't really work.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But anyway, I was made redundant. So in the whole scheme of things, it wasn't too bad because I was, again, forced into thinking, what should I do? So finding the next thing was chatting again to a friend who said, why don't you just set up a nursery? And I was like, God, I could do, I suppose. I mean, I've not done that before. But he said, I'll grow the plants, you sell them.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
So I just, within a month or two, I'd found a location up in the very pretty village of Painswick up on the hill there. So that was where my nursery, Pan Global Plants, started.
So when you say you found a location, were you renting land,
Yeah.
or how does that work?
Okay.
Yeah, I
rented
don't
land.
have, tens of thousands to buy a plot. So,
No.
so he's not that age. I just found somewhere I could rent.
Yeah.
So that was from a garden called the Rococo Garden, which is this very pretty restoration of a very rare Rococo period garden locally. And I just rented a little bit of field over parkland off the side of it, and
Oh, a good location then, because you'd have the footfall.
yeah, that was the idea. Yeah. I think it helped a bit. It wasn't like mega footfall, but I think it helped me start off. Yeah. So I was there for 6 years before they didn't give me another lease, which was charming of them. But
Lovely.
they'd only give me 2-year leases at a time anyway, which I always thought was a bit rude. But anyway, and so I had to move the entire nursery, which seemed horrendous at the time. The polytunnels and all the work. That had gone into the site. But it turned out to be the best thing ever because my lovely landlords down at where I am now, on the Frampton Court estate, right down by the River Severn, they provided this 19th century walled garden for me on an old estate.
Oh, my gosh, that's like amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Nurseryman's dream.
Yeah.
How long's the lease on that then? You're not 2 years at a time with this?
No. I've been there 22 years. So
Okay, we're fine then.
I think we're fine. I've got a lovely long lease now. I've renewed my lease
Good.
in the last couple of years, and I've got a lovely long lease that will see me out into my 70s.
So having the long lease allows you then to really sort of plan for the future.
Think about it.
Just to get on with it. Well, to be honest...
2 years is hard, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. I always assumed the best, I always assumed that everything would be fine. You can just renew my 2-year lease, so young and naive. But yeah, so this one much better.
Bigger space?
Yes, double the size. Yeah, so I've got just under an acre.
Size.
So I kept half of it to make a garden, because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And half an acre of nursery site.
Do you live at Pan Global Plants, or are you separate from it?
No. It's just I just rent the walled garden space there. But no, I live on top of right on the Cotswold edge, on the edge of the escarpment above Stroud, in one of the villages.
Oh, okay.
So I just drop into the valley every day, 15-minute drive down to work.
Nice. Little poodle.
Very nice.
Fantastic. And that's been there 20 odd years. How much has it evolved in that time?
The nursery. Or the I mean, do you mean the garden, or do you mean the business itself?
Oh, right. Well, so there's an interesting question, because I didn't know there was a garden until we spoke to George.
Yeah.
And he said, there's a garden as well.
We thought it was just a nursery.
We just assumed it was a nursery. Yeah. And so then we had regrets when we had previously been in the area that we hadn't come had a look.
Oh, yes. Well, pop in.
Are they two distinct parts? Because some people, when they have a nursery, they create it to look like a garden.
So you get an idea of the plants.
Is it very sort of separate? Nursery here, garden there?
Well, they're right next to each other. Because you're within the walled garden. Half of it is nursery, and the other half, which is right next to... So behind my office is just garden, and you can just walk into it. It's all open, relatively open. It's difficult to get in sometimes because it's so overgrown.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's my garden that has very little attention, so it's pretty naturalistic.
My kind of garden.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it seems people really like it. They say, "Oh, can we go in the garden?" I go, yeah, crack on. There you go. Watch out, it's a bit overgrown. They come out going, "Oh, it's lovely. Oh, I loved it." I think, really, it's a bit weedy, isn't it? No,
can we normalise that kind of garden?
Sorry?
Yeah. I really want us to normalise that kind of overgrown
garden. I think it is becoming more normal. I'm sure it is, because for quite a few years, people have said, even when my garden was sort of going down the pan somewhat due to the weed load, people would come in and say, "Oh, I love your wild garden."
Yeah.
You mean wild? It's not a wild garden. How dare you?
This is very controlled. Thank you very much.
You mean you didn't want to go? That's exactly what I'm after. There's a thing. Have you heard of chaos gardening?
Yeah.
No, not chaos gardening. No.
This is something we heard. One of our listeners sent us details
because we were
she'd
down
heard
about
how we go about our gardening, which is a very sort of live and let live type style. But chaos gardening seems to be a new catchphrase, and it's in things like Gardens Illustrated and RHS magazines and things like that. We have, and she sent us an article, which is basically let those things grow, and chaos gardening. It does what it says on the tin.
That's interesting. I don't read a lot of these magazines, so that is interesting. I would suggest though that might be a bit dangerous, because it might go too far. It all depends what you've got in there already, because if you just have a lot of bindweed and nettle and creeping thistle and
ground elder,
just taking over
brambles,
is it a garden in the end? Or is it just an absolutely horrible pile of weeds?
All those ones that you mention, it does say those are the ones that you want to hold back. Those are the ones you need to focus on.
No, I would agree.
So there's a lot of that.
And I'm probably doing that already then, because we do hold back the nasty weeds as much as we can, but there's a lot of self-sowing things going on.
That's what it talks about.
Yeah.
So if something self-sows in a path,
allow it.
Where normally you'd have a completely clear path, you allow it.
Yeah.
Let it flourish.
Well, until it blocks your path entirely. I would suggest...
Then you get rid of
it.
Maybe.
It's a bit of clipping.
Yeah. I think blurring the boundaries is lovely.
That is nice.
I think you can go... It's a whole interesting subject, this, because we are going so naturalistic, I think, as a gardening population. Of course, loads of people aren't, and they're cutting their stripes in the lawn still. Fair enough. But on the whole, we have, in the last number of decades, become more naturalistic in our planting. No doubt helped on by the this new perennial movement I was talking about before.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lovely thing. That's a letting go, less control, spray with chemicals, beat the lawn down and roll it so you got lovely stripes. All this kind of thing. The loosening is a wonderful thing. But I think it's getting the sweet
Just
spot.
right. Yes.
The sweet spot is pretty loose, but not too loose. Otherwise, it becomes just. Personally, I want a garden, whatever that means. But I want a garden rather than a completely wild thing. I love walking in the woods. We discussed that already.
Yeah.
But I don't want like a scrub patch or a woodland, or you know what I mean. I want a garden, so I want to have a place that is manipulated by my creative hand somewhat.
Yeah.
Where that line, where that tipping point is, or whatever, is up to the individual. But that to me is a garden.
I can get that, because also I think with gardening, the worry is going too far down, the keeping it so kind of perfect that you start stressing about it. And then, I mean, what is the point of actually having a garden if you're stressing over the garden? And then allowing it to, our garden, for example, it's wild, but I'm not looking at it going, oh my gosh, this is completely intolerable. There are plants everywhere doing absolutely mad stuff. I mean, yeah, sure, there's some bindweed, but it's fine. And
pretty flower, actually.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a really pretty flower, especially the pink and white striped one.
That was
gorgeous.
The smaller species,
smaller one. And so I look at it and I actually enjoy it because it's just beautiful how it is, and I'm not stressing because one plant isn't quite doing what it said in the book. I'm just allowing it to do it. So I think that's the sweet spot, is where you are very happy with everything and you're not stressing over your garden and you're enjoying a garden for itself.
Good point. Don't stress.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Gardening isn't about stress. I mean, it should be the opposite, really, shouldn't it?
It should be the opposite. We very successfily made it a stressful garden initially. Then because
we were trying to conform to everything. Trying to have everything just so.
And then we took a step back and we said, this isn't working. This wasn't the point of having this garden.
Which takes us back to our previous conversation about kids and choosing, do you conform? Do you do what you're supposed to do? Should I go to university straight away? It's like, no.
Yeah.
What feels
do what
feels
you want
right.
to do.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot.
If you know what feels right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's finding what feels right.
Yeah.
I think this ties in nicely with having a look at your dream garden.
Yes.
The dream garden, yes.
Yeah. So I think we should get cracking with that, and then we have many more questions as well.
I've got
so shall I
thousands.
hand you over to... Yeah, me too. I'll hand you over to Sweet Pea and she will take you through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll start off for the dream garden with the garden boundaries, so surrounding your garden if you want one.
Yes, it's quite difficult to it's quite difficult to know, and then I had to go. I mean, all the questions. It was quite difficult to think in the right way, whatever the right way is. And then I read your little notes again. And I thought, yes, it's a dream garden. A dream. I can do anything I want, and there's no restrictions.
Absolutely
I can have anything I want. I'd like to line it with coconut palms.
Really?
I wouldn't really know.
Brilliant.
No. I'm just joking.
No, don't joke with us about things like that, because that's
very cool.
Very excited.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be fab? A coconut palm, what a gorgeous thing. No, slightly more realistic. I thought I'd bring it back to a good conversation about bamboo. Mm-hmm. One of my boundaries that I chose at the nursery. The nursery is an old walled garden, so it's big, high, 10-foot walls around
nice.
a lot of
Very
it.
high.
But there is a lower wall on one side where the deer can't hop in, but the wind can blow in. So I put a big bamboo hedge in, a Fargesia robusta hedge, which is about 6 meters tall, and has been a fabulous boundary for me.
Yeah,
and
lovely.
I just thought, let's talk about bamboo, because I think bamboo needs to be explained more. Because, there's such a fear of bamboo nowadays.
Yeah.
I was going to say it needs some good press.
It does
need some good press, because it's had some really bad press recently.
Oh, yeah.
And bamboo
It's likened
sales
to Japanese knotweed.
I know, but it's ridiculous. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to
Right.
be.
Got to understand it first.
If you understand it, you can manipulate. Firstly, as I'm sure you realise now, there are two different types of bamboo with two different rhizome types. Rhizome being the underground stem, basically, that allows the plant to fill out and spread and make new shoots that come up, which are the culm, culms, culms. So you have running bamboos, which are leptomorph rhizomes, and you have clumping bamboos, which are pachymorph rhizomes. And it's exactly the same as a running grass and a clumping grass, because let's face it, bamboos are grasses. They're just woody grasses.
Yeah, right.
That's a good point.
So a couch grass, for example,
Exactly.
is a running grass.
Grass. Absolutely.
Oh,
Whereas a Miscanthus sinensis is for example, is a clumping grass.
Calamagrostis as well is quite clumping.
Certainly, a lot of calamagrostis that I can think of. I don't think I can think of a particularly mega running. No, I don't think they're running at all. Are there are some calamagrostis that fill out nicely, but yes, a clumping grass.
I think of them as more clumping.
Yeah. Most. I was just thinking of one that fills out quite fast, but I don't think you'd call it a leptomorph. I think you're right. Calamagrostis are properly pachymorph. Anyway, even the running leptomorph type bamboos, for example, Philostachys. Philostachys would be the best known, I think, of the running types. Even those you can easily keep completely from running just by putting a rhizome barrier in. But of course, most people buy their plants from garden centres rather than specialist nurseries where they'd get decent advice. In theory, a good specialist nursery should know all this. The nurseryman or woman should know how to advise, what to do with your bamboo. So if you're buying a Philostachys, all Philostachys are potentially running. So you every time, even for the weaker types that aren't so vigorously running, you would still put a rhizome barrier in.
And what is that exactly?
It's just a bit of plastic, which is about 1 millimetre wide, and it's about 50 centimetres deep.
Okay.
And it's just a bit of damp-proof, of course, in the end. And it comes on a roll, and you just slot it vertically into the ground, leaving about 10 centimetres out, which you can disguise with perennials and things around it, so you can't see it. Yeah. But it allows, leaving 10 centimetres sticking up, when the bamboo fills out underground and builds itself up, and you get the sort of soil heave over many years. Yeah. It doesn't allow the rhizomes to skip over the top of the rhizome barrier. Yes. See what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So if you've installed that, you slot it into a tiny little trench that you dig out, and you slot it in. It can't get out of there. So lots of people's gardens are relatively small, of course, and there are neighbours next door. So one also has to think about not going into a neighbour's garden. So down a fence line, you would, unless you had a solid barrier, like a wall or whatever, you would stick a bit of rhizome barrier down there. And it can't go under the fence.
So what about the other way round? If a neighbour has mistakenly planted one of these near their fence,
we've seen this quite a bit,
and it's coming in to your garden.
Can you just then go and dig a trench your side and put in that barrier? Yeah. And how far? So if they've got a plant on their side of the fence, do you just do a straight line of barrier
all the way along the fence if you want?
Fence? Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would stop anything coming in. And anything that's in your garden already is not going to be that difficult to kill off or even dig up, to be honest.
So how do you hear of these stories of the shoots of bamboo coming up through foundations of houses and things like that? Or is that just an old wives' tale?
I've not seen it myself, but I don't see why you couldn't get a bamboo shoot coming into a house with really, some old buildings have incredibly or hardly any foundations at all. And so a strong running rhizome could come underneath a wall of a house, just being inquisitive and going and just pop up inside a...
So how is that the foundation of a house or tarmac of a road? They can sometimes come through that. How is that not strong enough to keep it away, but this thin millimetre thick piece of plastic?
Because the plastic is solid, whereas a bit of gravel or a bit of soil or a bit of hardcore is not solid. There are holes.
No. Okay.
And tarmac seems solid, but it isn't really. It's just chippings held together with tar. So do you know what I mean?
It's very porous.
Well, I don't know how porous it is, but it's certainly weak. You know what I mean? You can push through that if you're an expanding organism like a bamboo rhizome.
Yeah. So there's definitely a place for plastic in the garden then as well. That's going to be the tagline of this. Nick Mason.
What have I said? And I would add, just to finish this bamboo spiel, is that even the pachymorph, the clump-forming bamboos, will still expand, just like your clump of grass, your ornamental miscanthus, whatever you put in out of a 2-litre pot, it's this big. Within 3 years, it's, this big, and it's bigger. And the same applies to pachymorph bamboos, like phygesias, for example. That's the most commonly grown clump-forming bamboos. And they will expand gently over the years. Some faster than others because they're more vigorous, and some are nice and slow, but they will still expand. So you still have to think about, if you were planting next to a neighbour and that fence line, think about that and put a little rhizome barrier in to stop it going under the fence, because it will just slowly creep under the fence. It won't run anywhere and come up meters away, but it will potentially go where you don't want it. But if you bear those things in mind, bamboo then goes back to being this fabulous, beautiful thing. Because people used to come into the nursery saying, "Oh, I love bamboo. I love the way it sounds in the wind."
Yeah.
And now everyone says, "Oh, bamboo. It is the devil's
I
work."
would be one of those people. I have a mother who will make me worry about absolutely everything.
Oh my gosh, she does.
She instilled the bamboo thing in me. Although we do have a small patch of bamboo, which we inherited with the land, and it's clearly clumping. It doesn't go anywhere, and it's very sweet.
It's
It's far from the house, and we love it, and we love the sound it makes.
Yeah.
But I do like the really, I don't know my bamboos, but we have friends in France who have a forest of bamboo, and it's the really
fabulous,
really fat bamboo. But they've said, it's a problem. They have to work really hard to hold it back and all the rest. But for us visiting, where we don't have to worry about the upkeep, it's just the most stunning thing.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't need to work hard if they put a decent rhizome barrier in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't.
Well, need to start thinking about that then. That's good tip to have.
Yeah. It's just a little bit of work at the beginning.
Yeah.
If it's done properly, that's it. That's it for the work. You've done the job.
Yeah.
Do you not does the plastic not break down? You have to replace it every 10 years or something? Or can you just leave that
not
in?
at all. No, not even if it's left above ground. As long as it's UV stable, it's not going to... I mean, most of it's in the ground, so it's not getting any UV light anyway, of course.
Yeah.
But even if it was sticking out of the ground, as long as it's UV stable plastic, it's not going to deteriorate. It's
not going anywhere.
I'm not a plastics expert, but I've never heard of it deteriorating.
Okay.
Another positive for plastic.
It's a possibility. It's a good thing to have. But coming back to your dream garden, so you're wanting bamboo on every side?
Oh wow! God,
or completely surrounded.
Well, I thought, like you were talking about your friends in France. I was just thinking about my bamboo hedge. Well, what would be really glorious is to enter that dream garden through like you were suggesting, a grove, where you're growing the bigger things like the larger growing Philostachys, for example. So certainly in our climate, that's the only way you're going to grow bamboo. You can't use any of the tropical ones.
Right.
But to have big, thick culms, 10 centimetres across at least, or whatever, and then well spaced. Because, a large bamboo is a glorious thing. Do you remember the film, the Chinese film, Crouching Tiger?
Crouching Tiger.
Yes.
That's what I always think about when I think about big forests of it.
Yes, well, that's...
Are you going to be dancing up the bamboo?
Yeah, I'm just going to be skipping through the crowd, flying.
Would you like a shed or a greenhouse if you had to choose between the two?
There's something very special about a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it's sunny, it's pretty warm. So
some good ventilation in it.
Good ventilation, good shading, but a greenhouse, I mean, even in winter, a greenhouse, it's a special place to be, isn't it?
Oh, it's the best place to be in the winter.
When it's cold outside, there's a little bit of winter sun, which warms your greenhouse up really incredibly easily with the old
on the windows.
greenhouse effect. Which is what it is, basically. So and of course, I thought, like some of your previous guests, I did think, what about those lovely, greenhouses where you have a little shady bit at the end, which is completely shaded. You can have a drier area and a table and chairs, and the rest of it is full of lovely plants. So I thought I would have to have the amalgam of the two.
So you're going to go with that?
Okay.
Yeah.
We had someone who his entire garden was a Kew Gardens
I see.
greenhouse.
Yeah, the entire thing
With different
was...
rooms. So a temperate room.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, good idea. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. Different environments for growing different things. For a grower like myself, that is a special series of environments. It's very useful if you want to think, right, I need to propagate this, or I need to grow these, and these really don't like it here. It's too, whatever. To have all the different environments is really useful sometimes.
So do you do that in the nursery with different polytunnels, or how do you create that?
Yeah,
effect?
and also, absolutely, and different microclimates within these structures. So one of my polytunnels, it's white plastic already, which reflects a lot of light, so it gives you a certain amount of shade.
Okay.
But the bottom end of it is actually shaded naturally by a large old mature pear tree that was in the garden already. So that the end of that semi-shaded polytunnel gets all afternoon shade from the pear tree, so things that really like a bit of shade, but also protection for propagation or whatever growing on for a while, they get that extra. So that kind of little microclimate is very, very useful. Also in the greenhouse or the glass house at work, under the benches can be very useful as well for a little bit of extra shade. So you use your environments wisely if you've got a whole range of things to grow.
So your dream greenhouse would have benches in it, or would you have beds in the ground?
Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
Both. Benches and beds.
Definitely. Growing plants in the ground inside a structure is a potentially really interesting way of doing things. I've never really ever done that. I've always had the membrane on the ground or whatever, or in my glass house, a concrete floor. But I've often thought about how great it would be to have a whole, say, polytunnel full of stock plants growing under cover. Because, some things that like more heat than we have outside in the UK love to be growing properly in the ground, but with the extra heat, so you can get things flowering, for example, that wouldn't normally flower well outside.
Yeah,
you can.
So why don't you do that?
Well, space.
Right.
I'm restricted. I'm full.
Yeah.
If you pop in sometime, I'll show you. I'm a bit full.
Packed to the rafters.
Yeah.
So then your dream garden, it's going to be a really large greenhouse.
Yeah, you have the space
Beds
for
in the ground for all those plants.
Yeah.
And what's happening in the shed end of it?
Yeah.
Well, you're packing in all your bits and bobs that one might put in a normal shed, I think. All the stuff you need. All the stuff
storage.
Yes. But I also see that table and chairs in there for tea and coffee breaks, and frankly, lunches. And possibly lunches
and dinner
with friends, dinner, the whole shebang.
So you could have a 6-seat table, six seats around it.
I'm seeing a nice kind of lovely old oak farmhouse table there.
Oh, gorgeous!
Something solid.
Yeah.
Nice. And are you wanting a veranda at the front like you have?
Yes.
Wow.
I did write that down actually somewhere. Veranda.
I like it.
Yes.
I like that idea.
Nick, would you have fairy lights in your greenhouse for the evening meals?
I haven't considered
so
it, I must say. No, I don't normally think of fairy lights.
Just candles? How will you light it in the evening?
That's a great question.
Your dinner do's.
No, it's a great point. I hadn't considered that, and this has come up in the past.
You're warming to those fairy lights.
No, I am, and what I'm trying to say is that I have already warmed in the past to fairy lights. When an ex of mine, she would love to put fairy lights everywhere. I go, what are you doing? God, what are we?
I'm with her all the way.
Children.
Yeah, so am I.
and then of course they were up, and I was like, actually, this is really
nice.
lovely.
Yes.
I'm into fairy lights now. So, yes, I probably would get some fairy lights up. It's quite a charming environment once they're up.
Well, before I ask you what your 5 favourite ornamentals are, I did have a question on plant hunting. Because I was very interested in all the travels that you've done, especially the one which you did to Mexico, because you said about how the species are so diverse over there. And I wanted to understand, why do you think they might be so diverse in that area compared to UK? That's pretty simple to answer, to be honest. So I've actually been on 4 trips to Mexico in the past. Wow.
I used to be obsessed in agaves for about 10 years, so I used to go and see them in the wild
beautiful plants.
all over Mexico and all the other great things in Mexico. But I would say the main reason or the fundamental reason that places like Mexico have a rich flora and the UK have very depauperate flora, quite frankly, is because of ice ages. You know, I mean, even Europe has a pretty weak flora compared to places like Mexico and China, for example. And I think I'd be right in saying that the main reason for that is when the ice comes down from the north or up from the south, of course, as well, it pushes species, say in the northern hemisphere, it pushes species southwards and they have to retreat from the ice. And they have to move over long periods, and they migrate southwards. Right. Obviously, it has to be a long period. Otherwise, trees would be, for example, well, we're not talking thistles who send thousands and millions of seeds out every year. We're talking trees who have to grow and then set seed, blah blah blah. So we're talking about long periods of time, but plants will migrate away from the ice that is coming towards them. So places like the UK, nowhere for things to go, really. And then even Europe, you have barriers like the Alps, the Pyrenees, where plants can't escape over mountains because they're very cold.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, when you've got an ice age heading towards you, the mountains are probably even colder.
Nowhere to go.
So the plants are pushed to extinction, the species. Whereas in places like North America, if you look at the geology there, the topography, plants can escape from North America down into Mexico because the mountain ranges in Mexico are north-south. They're not east-west.
Right.
Well, they are further down, but
I see what you're saying.
So the whole of northern Mexico, the flora of North America has. I don't know anything about this really, but over millennia, plants have clearly gone backwards and forwards through different ice ages, up and down, north and south, without any particular natural barriers. And that's the same in China. So these incredibly rich parts of the world, should I say the temperate world, as opposed to the tropics as a whole different matter. And of course, they didn't ice over the tropics anyway. But in areas that received ice, if you have north-south mountain ranges where the plants can retreat and then go back, you tend to have very rich floras, like Mexico, like southwest China.
How interesting.
Okay. That is very, very cool. I didn't know that. And also, what has been one of your favourite expeditions that you've been on? Plant hunting?
There have been a lot. They're all great in their own way, you know.
I know.
But
it's a hard question, actually.
I usually just tend to talk about Mexico, really. I mean, you can't really compare like Taiwan with Mexico because they're completely different. And Taiwan, for example, is incredible. Northern Vietnam, incredible. You know, up in northern Burma, you know, or Myanmar, as we call it nowadays, where hardly anyone has looked at plants ever. You know, those trips are incredible. But I always tend to go back to Mexico being my favorite country I've been to for multiple reasons. It's not just the incredible flora, it's the range of flora. You know, so if you're into oaks, for example, if you're an oak nerd, of which there are quite a few in the world, Mexico is incredibly rich. If you're into... Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You don't think of that, do you?
I wouldn't have thought of that for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. Anything from scrubby little oaks to huge forest trees growing in a range of environments. Salvias, vast amounts of salvias species. Dahlias, incredible. I mean, that's where mainly they come from.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Agaves, you know, et cetera, et cetera. If you're into all that exotic succulent stuff, you know, Mexico is fabulously rich. So it's not just incredibly beautiful and diverse botanically.
Yeah,
it's also very exciting when you come across agaves that are sort of, 10 feet wide, you know, or even down to little gems that are only 6 inches across. Yeah. It's just constant, gorgeous plants everywhere.
Yeah.
But not just that, it's the incredible topography and geology, you know, the way plants respond to the different geology around. It's a rich, rich, rich place. Yeah. Never-ending mountains, deserts, hot, sweaty, tropical jungles, as it were, by the coast sometimes, depending where you are. Cloud forests. incredible fauna as well, if you're into that sort of thing, but also the richness of the culture. You know, you've got this old colonial Spanish culture and the architecture that goes with that and the general vibe,
stunning.
but you've also got the Native American culture there as well.
Yeah.
You've got great food. It's just
Great food.
fantastic.
It's amazing.
When you do these trips, do you go with a team or do you go independently?
Well, I've been on a few trips just on my own, a couple.
Yeah.
Went to South Africa and Chile on my own, for example, because I couldn't find anyone to go with me at the time. But usually, for many of my trips, I've just been away with a very good friend of mine, Paul Barney from Edulus Nursery down near Reading. We've been plant hunting chums for years, I don't know, 15 years or something. But also, when we are doing more trekking kind of trips, where you have to, the only way of kind of getting into an area and doing it properly is on an organised trek.
Right.
You have to usually, unless you're very wealthy, you would need to get the numbers up to get the price down. So you probably want about a minimum of 5 people.
Okay.
Because you're going on a supported trek, you're having
That's
a
with a
guide
guide,
and porters.
Now I can ask you, what would be your 5 ornamentals for your dream garden?
Very tricky question, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the trickiest question of all, because how on earth am I supposed to pick 5? So I was just like
Very difficult.
stabbing in the dark here, really, and just picking out 5 great things, really, that I
you
love.
like.
Yeah. So one of them would be, just to start with, back to agaves, Agave ovatifolia, with the whale's tongue agave, which I grow in the nursery garden down in Frampton. I've got full-size plants. One of them is at least 2 meters across. Most gorgeous grey-blue, incredibly chunky, beautiful, beautiful thing. Perfect rosette.
How old?
How old? I collected the seed of that with a pinch of seed from the wild in Mexico in January 2009.
Ooh, okay. What are the 4 other ornamentals?
Well, I thought of another, one of my absolute favourite small trees for a garden. Of course, I think of trees a lot. I have them down my drive here at home on this rocky limestone brash, Cotswold brash, really dry as a bone, especially this year, absolutely dry as a bone. I've got Arbutus andrachnoides, one of the hybrid strawberry trees, which have gorgeous bark. Some of those gorgeous bark you could possibly think of in a tree.
What's it like?
It is. It peels each year, so it's thin layers peeling off, and it's a rich, rusty, orange, red, brown.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Does it
lovely.
peel like a silver birch or like a eucalyptus, where it's bits or sheets?
Like neither of those, really.
Silver birch.
It's incredibly thin, papery layers, which can crack and peel off, but also they can peel in
Like
tiny
shreds
shreds as well. Exactly, yeah. The colour, permanently. I'm looking at them now as I look out of the window. Just rich green, glossy leaves, evergreen, small tree, very, very picturesque in its gnarled kind of funky appearance. Not that gnarled, but characterful, shall we say?
Yeah.
The bark on every branch and the trunks are just beautiful.
Oh, it sounds stunning.
And when they peel, you have a certain amount of sandy yellow underneath, which then changes back to the more sort of reddy orangey brown.
Oh, beautiful. A slow growing, quick growing?
Medium growth.
Right.
Medium growth rates, not particularly slow when young, actually, at all. Like a lot of smallish trees, they can actually grow reasonably fast when young, and then slow down, and then form a characterful crown.
Very nice. What are the 3 other ornamentals?
Well, I thought I'd throw grass in there just to keep things. I'm just kind of sort of thinking, if I was planning this garden, what would I want? I'd want my evergreen small tree. I'd want my incredible agave, and the blue grey of the agave would go so beautifully with the arbutus.
Yeah.
And I thought a grass in there as well. One of my favourite grasses is the red tussock grass from New Zealand, which is Chionocloa rubra. Okay. And it's called the red tussock grass, but it's not red at all. It's more orange-brown.
Where from?
New Zealand, from the mountains of New Zealand, where you see it's growing on, I haven't been there, but I've seen photographs of it in the wild. It's sort of open moorland kind of environment. And it's evergreen, incredibly fine foliage, which can, in more extreme cold winters, have a sort of orangey tint rather than the sort of orangey brown. And in summer, when it's growing new leaves, they can have a sort of tiny bit of sort of purple added to the mix. But because it's only a millimetre wide, the purple streaks. You don't see them unless you go up close. But the
Okay.
point of it is just the form of it. This fountain of fine foliage and interesting colour.
Beautiful.
Well, I like that. Next two.
I'm a big fan of a hogweed from the Crimea.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
a Heracleum, which is hogweed. You know, our native Heracleum spondylum by the side of the road, with the not particularly large flower heads of, I don't know, how big are they, 6-8 inches across maximum kind of thing. But this one, Heracleum stevenii, comes from the Crimea, and it is a giant, but not hugely tall. It probably gets up to something like, I don't know, 1.5 meters tall maximum. So probably not much taller than or even any taller than our native one. But it has these huge flying saucer umbels.
Beautiful.
And so architecturally, it is fabulous in the garden.
Great big plates. White
I
flowers.
love it.
Nice.
Absolutely. White flowers, big plates on long stalks, separated from each other.
Yeah.
The centre one flowers first, and then the others expand out and up and, out sideways, and then they open up. It's just an incredible looking plant.
Are you growing them at your place?
In the garden, yeah, they self-sow in my semi-wild garden, yeah.
And they're not a concern, like, for example, a giant hogweed where they've got that, what's that, photo?
Sap.
Oh,
photo.
Yeah,
They go for
phototoxic sap. I have not had any issue with any of the hogweeds in my garden on my skin at all, ever. I think I'm right in saying some people have more of a sensitivity to hogweed sap, because even our native hogweed sap can be a bit dodgy, I think. Apparently, I'm not an expert in this, but I've never had any trouble whatsoever from either this one or another one we found in Tajikistan in Central Asia. It's a big one, gets about 10 feet tall. That's Heracleum leimanianum. I hack leaves off, gather them up, and put them on a cover sleeve. I don't have any issues personally at all with it.
Okay.
Amazing.
Well, that's good to know. Well, then the final ornamental.
Final ornamental, I was just, I said, racking my brains. I did just think of a lovely berberis.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people think berberis, those old things.
But I really like them.
Good for you. There are some very handsome berberis, and one of the best of all is Berberis triacanthophora Cali Rose, named after Cali Gardens in Scotland. Michael Wickenden, the late Michael Wickenden, who died too young a few years back, he named something he brought back from, I think, China, possibly Japan, but it was originally from China, I think, this Berberis triacanthophora, which is evergreen, not large growing, beautiful foliage, thin, fine foliage, very, very attractive foliage plant anyway, but the flowers are red with a creamy white centre. And you've got masses of in spring or early summer, I can't remember. Ooh. But the good photographs on my website show you how nice a plant it is. It's a very, very pretty thing. Needs lots more wider planting. Yeah. So that would be a good evergreen shrub element within my garden. But choosing only 5 is quite restrictive.
It is very restrictive, isn't it? But yes, where do you go with this? We're already at 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Then 5 edible plants.
Yes. Well, I'm going to start with Ugni mollini, the Chilean guava, as it's known. It's not a guava. It's a Chilean myrtle with the most delicious fruit. Do you know Ugnis?
No, never
I've heard of it, I think.
Oh, they're a berry. It's an evergreen shrub, not too tall, maybe 1.5 meters. Often needs a relatively decent microclimate because it's sometimes not as hardy. Some forms are hardier than others, but generally speaking, if you're in a cold area, put it in a very sheltered spot. Mm-hmm. But most of us can grow them pretty well in modern winters anyway. So Ugni mollini has these gorgeous fruit which are ripening now, depending on the form, depending on the clone. They're ripening now, and the flavour is out of this world. Apparently, it was Queen Victoria's favourite fruit.
Really?
Who knew? Yeah, apparently.
What's the berry? You said it's a berry?
Little berries about 1 centimetre across.
Right.
And they're red when they're fully ripe, but the flavour is just astoundingly good, and it's very, very difficult to describe. It's got this myrtle-y kind of element, whatever that means. You have to try it to know. And then it's just sweet. They're like little sweeties. They're just so good.
Very soft or Is there some give to
Perfectly
it?
soft enough. Yeah, they've got a reasonably sort of toughish skin, I suppose, but it's incredibly small. You know,
But
it's
you eat
not.
the skin as
Oh,
well.
you just chomp the whole thing down. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you're growing those.
Oh yeah. I've grown and sold various different forms over the years. In fact, I named one. I've got one clone that I named because it was fruiting earlier than any other form I was growing, and so I named it Frampton Feast after the village where I am. Yeah.
Oh,
Excellent.
very nice.
So I suppose with your walled garden with a 10-foot high wall running all the way around, you've got again your own little microclimate.
I do. It's most certainly a microclimate in there, but what people always get wrong is they come in and say, "Ooh, you've got such a mild garden. Look at you with your walls. You're so warm here." It's like, well, I'm warmer near the wall in the summer, yes, but in the winter, I'm actually right down by the River Severn, so I'm in this huge frost pocket valley, which is a cold inland frosty hellhole in the winter, to be honest. Hellhole might be a little strong, but
Yeah, maybe.
but no, honestly, I'm usually considerably colder by a few degrees. I mean, up here on top of the hill, where I'm at home now, is basically much milder than down in the valley bottom for obvious reasons. You know, cold air sinks, and so even at altitude, it's it's just better up here. So it's not all amazing.
If you could be anywhere in the world, would you still be where you are now?
I think as a setup, I'm pretty happy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Living in the Cotswolds and having a beautiful nursery and such a gorgeous old walled garden, I'm not going to complain. Thanks very much. People say, "Ooh, what about moving to Cornwall, or what about moving to here?"
Or Mexico.
Mexico. Yes. I think everywhere has its problems, so I'm just going to stay put. I'm just going to stay put. Thank you very much.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Right, your 4 other edible plants.
So fig leaves. I'm not talking about fig fruits. I'm talking about fig leaves, and I'm not talking about eating the leaf. I'm talking about using it to flavour things. The other day, I was out for my youngest son's 16th birthday meal. We went out to a lovely restaurant in Stroud, and I have had this before elsewhere, but we had it again. It reminded me, and it's fig leaf ice cream. And the ice cream is, I don't know how they do it, but they flavour it with the essence of, when you smell a fig leaf or you break a fig leaf, do you know that smell? A very distinctive smell, which has got a sweetness to it, but it just smells like fig leaves. So imagine that smell in the flavour of the ice cream. Absolutely delicious.
Amazing.
I've never heard of that. My understanding was that fig leaves were poisonous. Certainly, they have that phototoxic thing as well.
Is it like it's like a white sap, isn't it? Is it latex or something like that?
And it can burn your skin.
Oh, well, it sounds a bit like a euphorbia, because euphorbias have the white latex sap. Yep. Maybe it is something like that. I don't know where they get the flavour out of it.
Interesting. I've never heard of that, and I will be Googling it straight after this.
So
fig leaf ice cream.
Fig leaf ice cream. Yum.
That's a great idea for one of your edibles.
Yeah.
And we definitely haven't had that before.
No.
I thought maybe you wouldn't. That's cool.
Love that. Then what else?
Loquat fruit. Do you know loquats?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but tell me what it's
Loquat
like.
is a small evergreen tree from Eastern Asia.
Sorry, I'm thinking of kumquats.
Yeah, you're thinking of kumquat. No, different. Loquat. So the proper name is Areobotria japonica. And they've got fabulous leaves. And a lot of the exotic garden crowd in the UK like to grow them just as foliage plants. They're amazing, exotic-looking foliage trees. But they start to flower soon. They sort of start flowering in the autumn. So if you're in an area where they can set fruit and ripen it through the winter, shall we say, you can have heavy crops. So central London, for example, there are Areobotria planted all over the place by a lot of expats from Cyprus or Turkey or wherever, and you see them in front gardens, people, because where you can grow them and set fruit in the Med, for example, they are absolutely loved. And so you get these, people coming over and planting them in the UK. And now, of course, people plant them more for exotic effect. But when you get fruit, and I don't get many fruit on mine because I'm in this, location where it's not so good for setting fruit. But my goodness, they taste fabulous. Absolutely love them.
What does the fruit look like?
The fruit is small, round, sort of orangey colour, smooth flesh, and really just is a slightly indescribable taste again. You might look at it and go, "Oh, it looks like a little apricot," but it is of the rose family.
So it has a stone in it.
It does have a stone in the middle, like a little. It's almost like a little lychee, like little nutty thing in the middle.
Interesting.
But just so tasty. Yeah. And apparently, if you're in a city, for example, has sort of like a Turkish supermarket or something, you'll find them at the right time of year for sale in those shops. I even found them in Waitrose once, but I've never seen them.
No way.
But they are really, really good.
Yeah. Oh,
very
we'll
nice.
Keep our eye out for that.
And then the last two.
Yeah, so I thought red currants.
Okay.
Which so many people know red currants. But the reason I'm saying red currants is because my parents would always make this most gorgeous, I believe, German dessert called Johannisbeerkuchen, which is... Johannisbeer apparently is the name of red currants, and Kuchen obviously cake. I think. Mm-hmm. So it's red currant cake, but it's like a thin pastry, and then there'll be this layer of red currants cooked in a certain amount of sugar, but they're pretty tart, so they got the red currant tartness, and then on top you have this very, very thin, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 mil thick layer of meringue top. And it is just the most gorgeous mixture of sweet and tart on a nice, healthy crust underneath.
Yeah,
Love
that
it.
sounds very good.
It's very close to my heart.
Any German background in your family?
No.
Just love this Johannisbeerkuchen.
Yeah!
Yeah.
That's good.
Sehr gut.
So good. Love that. And then the final edible plant.
I'll be so disappointed if you say carrot now at this point, Nick.
I'm not going to say carrots. I couldn't think of anything, so I thought I'm going to throw in an absolute non-favourite, if I may.
Okay.
Just to. Is that okay?
Just to shake things up a little, absolutely.
Am I allowed?
Of course.
You can have whatever you want. It's your dream garden. You can have stuff you hate if you want.
Yeah, exactly. What am I doing? It's a dream garden. God. So. No, it's going back to hogweeds and edibility. I saw something on social media of some sort of foragers. Some foragers were going out picking hogweed as an edible. I thought, what? Hogweed? Edible? Really? So yes, apparently. So you can get, just when they're coming up to flower, you can take certain stems, or was it leaf stalks, the petioles of the leaves, and a certain flowering stem. I can't remember what it was. It was like a year ago. And we tried taking these tender shoots, and we cooked them in the right way, and they were just horrible. The flavour was absolutely disgusting. And I just thought, no.
I thought I would like that in my dream garden.
And I mean, these days, it's a good idea to get out there for your gut health and all the rest of it. Let's get some diverse, interesting planty chemicals into our systems. Let's go out foraging for weedy things that could taste nice, good, but not hogweed. Sorry,
not happening.
Not hogweed.
However, you would like that
in your dream garden.
Yes, it's an interesting question, isn't it?
It's an interesting answer though, because I didn't know that you could eat hogweed.
Well, there we are. It was worth saying, even though I don't actually want it in my garden. I'll have the other hogweeds. There we are.
Yes.
The other
I love
hogweeds.
that you tried that recipe out based on a social media reel that you saw.
Don't trust social media.
It wasn't just one. I checked it out, and there were lots of people saying these were really interesting, and they're like a funky new vegetable. And some local restaurants have actually been starting to use them in there. Why?
Why?
No,
do that to us. Why?
No.
Well, we're now on to a really hard question, which I'm sure will be hard for you, which is, what is your one statement tree?
Oh, no.
Yeah, really tricky question. This? But to be honest, people have been asking me that for so many years, since my early days with tree obsession. Oh, what's your favourite tree, Nick? So there are so many favourite trees, but I always seem to end up saying the cedar of Lebanon. Good old Cedrus libani. It's such an awesome tree when mature. I just love them. I still love them. And I finally got to go and see them in the wild back in March 2018. I think we were out in Lebanon, and we went to see the few old groves that are still left in the wild.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Seeing them as a grove, was that really spectacular then?
It was. Yeah, amazing old trees right up on Mount Lebanon range there. And of course nowadays very difficult to who wants to go back into Lebanon now? It's all sort of kicked off again, hasn't it? So I'm happy we got there and saw them.
Well then, second last question: would you like a pond or a pool, and what plant would you have in that area?
I would like a swimming pond. Is that okay?
Yes, we've had that.
Bet you have. It's the obvious answer.
It is,
isn't it?
But I'd like a swimming pond surrounded by papyrus.
Okay.
Papyrus?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Papyrus. Cyperus papyrus, the fabulous, not that hardy, unfortunately, but as it's my dream garden, I'm going to have a completely surrounded by. So I'm like on the side of the Nile or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, yeah.
So what size is your swimming pond going to be?
My swimming pond is going to be probably about 30 feet long by 15 to 20 feet wide. There you go.
Nice.
That's very specific.
That was very specific.
Specific. We weren't ready for that.
Was not ready for that. And do you have a pond where you are currently?
No, not at home or at work, no. But there's a lot of water around me at work. There's a huge triple SI old gravel pit on the other side of the park from me, which is full of wildlife. And
What
then
does
just
triple SI mean?
triple SI, site of special scientific interest.
Oh, okay.
So incredibly full of nature, basically.
Right.
It's
Nice.
an important habitat because under the soil where we are, it's Cotswold gravel. Must have been washed out of the Cotswolds of the last ice age or something. And of course, they just dig it out and pinch the gravel and sell it off. So that was many decades ago. I think it was in the 20s or 30s. And since then, it's obviously filled with water quite quickly, and it's full of fish and wildlife. And because it's limestone
fantastic.
underneath, it's apparently very good for the wildlife.
And you've got the river right there as well.
Yeah, it's sort of bird life. Bird life around the River Severn is humongous. Yeah, of course the Slimbridge Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust is just south of me. A lot of customers sort of do a bit of Slimbridge and a bit of me on the same day.
Well then, final question is: what is your favourite seating area to have, drink to have in that area, and a plant for that area?
Another tricky question, isn't it? So I'm going to have a pergola covered in the giant Burmese honeysuckle, which is, if you don't know it, it's not the hardiest honeysuckle in the world. So, but you have to live in a sort of relatively mild area. London, for example, will grow it easily. A friend of mine grows it in coastal Cornwall in his incredible garden down there, and he has it up the front of his house. And the flowers are absolutely huge for a honeysuckle.
Really?
Imagine a honeysuckle with its, I know there's variable size honeysuckles flower-wise, but they're usually, I don't know, about an inch and a half long or whatever, the individual flowers. But these are, I don't know, you're looking at heading on for like 6 inches long per individual flower.
Wow.
They come out creamy sort of colour, and they end up sort of like a mango orange.
Right.
And the scent is out of this world.
Really?
And so I would like my pergola covered in that.
Similar shaped flower to our common garden honeysuckle?
Yeah. Long tube and then opening out.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, but giant size.
How amazing.
Okay,
And then a
lovely.
fragrance as well. That's
Fragrance as
incredible.
well. Different from our native.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Lovely.
Fabulous.
Beautiful.
And a glass of Primitivo from something strong, rich, heavy, powerful, red. Well, I mean, I could choose all manner of interesting, wacky drinks, but I'm just going to stick with that.
Glass of red.
Basically what I drink all the time. And I've got it.
A glass of
Not
red
all the
Primitivo.
time. Not now, for example.
Not
Not
at
for
9 o'clock in the morning.
breakfast.
And even in the summer as well, you like a hearty red in the summer months?
Still do.
So
Yeah.
you're not seasonal where I change colour
No.
depending
Yeah.
on the temperature outside.
No, a lot of people do, but I...
Stick with the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you sitting on?
Oh, yes. What am I sitting on? Some kind of reclining chair so I could just put my feet up.
Okay.
Nothing particularly exciting. We could have said some sort of moss-covered chair or something. But didn't want to be too clever about this. Come on.
So a wooden recliner?
Yes, with maybe a pleasant cushion or two.
And I'm going to have to ask the colour of the cushion.
Orange.
Is that your favourite colour?
Does it look like it?
With your orange room behind you.
A soft, yes, a lovely burnt orange.
Sweetie's favourite colour as well.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask you that.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, that sounds lovely. I'm going to read you back your dream garden just in case you want to change anything whatsoever.
Okay.
So we were going with, for the garden boundary, bamboo hedge, and you wanted to enter the garden through kind of a grove of big, thick bamboo, well spaced apart. Really lovely. Then you wanted a kind of shed greenhouse mishmash together. Little shed on the end, table and chairs in there, 6 seats, oak farmhouse table.
Yeah.
All that lovely stuff. Your dry bit, benches and beds and ground, and a veranda, obviously, and fairy lights, as you said. Very important.
I didn't realise, but yes, very important.
Very important. Then your 5 ornamentals, we had the Wales tongue agave, Arbutus andrachnoides, the red tussock grass from New Zealand, the Heracleum stevenii, and the Berberis cali rose.
Yes.
Then your 5 edibles, the Chilean guava, fig leaves for that amazing ice cream, loquat fruit, red currants, and hogweed. We really don't know why we put that in there, but go with that.
It was an interesting tale of foul tasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Your one tree was a cedar of Lebanon. Then you wanted a swimming pond surrounded by cypress papyrus, like on the side of the Nile, for example. And your seating area was a nice pergola covered in a giant Burmese honeysuckle with a reclining chair, wooden cushions, obviously in orange, and a glass of red Primitivo.
Nice.
Very nice.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds very
beautiful.
good.
And we were hoping we'd hear some things we'd never heard of, and we got
them.
Great.
Lots of Googling to do after this.
Oh my gosh, I have a whole load of Googling to do.
Well, thank you so much. That's been a good old chit-chat with Nick.
Absolute pleasure. Loved it.